Could Prime Minister Keir Starmer's meeting with President Trump reshape global politics? In this video, Mike Graham and Kemi Badenoch discuss the high-stakes encounter. Plus, we're tackling identity in this video. Not any divisive identity politics, but the powerful leadership principle that defines how leaders view themselves, their nation, and make critical decisions. Before we get into the details, if you love diving into political issues and enjoy hearing a principled take on them, then hit the like button, share this video, and subscribe to join the conversation. It will help our channel reach a wider audience.
Trump, haven't we? I mean, Keir Starmer is trying to pretend, I think, that it didn't actually happen because his entire social media team are on some kind of blackout. He hasn't put anything out. You know, as soon as when he saw the Prime Minister of Czechia, when he saw the German Chancellor, when he saw Macron, when he had the Albanian Prime, whoever he has in from a foreign land, it's all over the place. You know, he had Narendra Modi last week. You know, that was all going out. He's not put anything out on his Twitter account of his meeting with Donald Trump yesterday. I wonder why that is.
I think they are struggling to find a moment that looks good.
Yeah.
And that's because despite President Trump praising Keir Starmer, he spent most of the meeting trashing his agenda on immigration, on taxes, how he's treating farmers. Today I've seen another tweet about North Sea oil and gas, something that I've been talking about, how Labour is killing that industry with the windfall taxes, and we need the energy from the North Sea. Other countries are, drilling in that basin while we're closing down licenses.
Right. And of course, he said to Donald Trump, when Donald Trump said wind is a disaster, that was his quote, and he said, of course, we've got more of a mix. We've got an approach. It's not a mix, Ed Miliband doesn't think it's a mix. Ed Miliband thinks it's all about wind and solar, doesn't he?
I think that he struggles to assert himself in those meetings. It looks like he's a hostage.
Yeah.
He's sitting there terrified about, what lines he can take, whereas President Trump is quite freewheeling.
It's just riffing, isn't it?
Yes, exactly. And I think Keir Starmer doesn't really know how to deal with that.
Right.
But what we need is to see the British Prime Minister standing up for our interests, showing that he's winning. And every time we see him with President Trump, it looks like it's the US that's winning.
Yeah. Well, a lot of our listeners and viewers have been commenting on it this morning. Have a look at some of their reactions to what they've been watching.
I'll tell you what, yesterday was TV gold.
Starmer just looked like a ventriloquist dummy.
Starmer looked like a little boy lost with his football.
And he looked like he was chewing a wasp. It was just brilliant.
He was like a little boy being told off at school for smoking behind the bike shed.
He just reminded me of Beaker out of the Muppets, just sat there whimpering and looking gormless.
What an absolute plonker.
I mean, that's the British reaction to what he did yesterday. And frankly, he would have been better off staying in Downing Street, where he could have had a nice photo opportunity with the Lionesses, right? Instead of letting Angela Rayner do it. And he wouldn't have lost anything by not going to see Donald Trump because, it was just a massive humiliation, it seems to me.
Well, what's happening is that Keir Starmer is not having a good time on the domestic front. Everything's going wrong. There are protests all over the country around migrant hotels.
Which he doesn't want to acknowledge,
He doesn't know what to do. He hasn't got a plan. Doctors are going on strike. There's a cost of living issue. So looking like an international statesman is where he runs to when he can't fix problems at home. That's why he takes all those pictures with all the other world leaders. But actually, when he's sitting next to President Trump, he doesn't look like an international statesman.
No.
And we need our Prime Minister to start sticking up for our country and making life better for people here.
But this is the trouble. He doesn't impress, I don't think, on the international stage. I don't think anybody particularly has any great respect for him. He doesn't sort of promote Britain. He promotes a kind of, rather, slightly embarrassing version of Britain, where he's not very sure, he's not very clear on what his policies are. Every 5 minutes he's U-turning on them. You never quite know. I mean, we were just talking to our farmer, Gareth Wyn-Jones there. Every week I'm expecting him to do a U-turn on the farmer's tax, you just don't know what he's going to be doing.
It's because he doesn't have a very clear agenda. He thought that all that needed to happen was for Conservatives to be removed, and then everything would be fine. He'd be fantastic because, he clearly thinks of himself as being a great person. And actually, without an agenda, it's very hard to tell a great story of what Britain is and what it's about on the international stage. You look at the deals he's been signing with the EU, with the US, we're not coming out of those deals very well. And it's why I say whenever Labour negotiates, Britain loses. They don't know how to negotiate. We were much tougher than Labour, even with the doctor strikes. They just gave away 28% pay rises. They got nothing in return, and now they're striking again. And this is one of the things that he sort of demonstrates when he's on the world stage, that he's just sort of there, but he doesn't know why he's there.
Yeah. Well, somebody described him as he's not really the Prime Minister anymore. He's just a guy that lives at number 10 Downing Street. And it's kind of true, because he has kind of lost the authority of his own party. You know, you talk about doctor strikes. I think this week you said that you would make it illegal for doctors to strike.
That's correct.
How would you do that?
So what we've been seeing from Labour is a lot of tough talk, but no action. Banning strikes from doctors would put them in the same category as the army, the police, prison officers. So this is not a new thing. But the reason why I think we need to do it is because the BMA, the Doctors' Trade Union, has become very militant. They're not just, calmly having negotiations. They have a political agenda that is not in the interest of this country. It's costing the NHS billions. Doctor strikes, it's about the 12th strike we've had in about 2 years. It's cost about $1.5 billion. And if you look at what Rachel Reeves is doing with the economy, all of your listeners will know, Mike, we don't have that kind of money. It's not good for patient safety. People die during these strikes, operations delayed, people not getting the care that they need. And that's why I said, right, enough, let's just ban these strikes and get doctors back to work.
Yeah, because we're learning from just today the nurses are likely to go on strike as well, and the BMA are being accused by the NHS of actually harming patients and causing people to die.
Yes.
And even that's not enough to bring them back to work.
Well, if the NHS itself is saying it, I think people can see that what I'm saying is true. But of course the nurses are now planning to go on strike because they must feel like mugs. They negotiated a reasonable settlement, and then they saw West Streeting give the doctors 28%, and they will be thinking, well, we'll have some of that. And that's what happens when you give extraordinary pay rises with taxpayers' money. Everybody else thinks that they've been cheated.
Britain needs a leader who will stand up for the country and its people. You can't be a leader of a nation and be timid. Timidity comes from not being sure about yourself and the direction that you want to go and to take the nation. Knowing your true identity as a leader is very important. If you are operating with an identity of your advisors or from a particular ideological framework, it will be difficult for you to be comfortable in yourself. Whenever you are uncomfortable with yourself as a leader, it shows and the world sees it. Once you are in that position, it's time to regroup. Get some mentoring, get some help. Do not go further and faster, humiliating yourself, your people, and your nation. What makes a great leader for Britain? It's not just about policy or charisma. It's about identity. A leader must believe in the power and potential of this nation, standing tall for its people with unshakable confidence. Timidity has no place in leadership. Why? It stems from self-doubt, uncertainty about who you are and where you're leading the nation. A leader unsure of their identity will falter, and the world will see it. That wavering not only signals weakness, but reveals instability in countless other ways, eroding trust at home and abroad. Imagine sitting at the global negotiating table, representing Britain. You've already lost before the talks begin. So, how does a leader forge a strong identity? It's not about adopting your advisor's views or clinging to an ideological script. True identity comes from self-discovery, a journey of knowing who you are at your core. When a leader is comfortable in their own skin, it radiates confidence, inspires their people, and strengthens the nation's identity on the world stage. But when a leader feels out of place, it shows. The world sees it, and the nation feels it. A leader who lacks belief in themselves risks embarrassing not just themselves, but their people and their country. If a leader is struggling with their identity, it's not time to rush blindly ahead. It's time to pause, regroup, and seek guidance, whether through mentorship, reflection, or honest self-assessment. Great leadership begins with knowing who you are, what you stand for, and what your nation stands for. Let's build a Britain led by confident, authentic leaders. How would leaders who know their true identity inspire positive change in Britain? Share your thoughts in the comments. If you have benefited in any way from this video, please subscribe, like, share, and be sure to leave us a comment.